What's up guys, it's Pliskin here. At this point, the Metal Gear Solid 5 re-release is almost a guarantee. People are talking about it. I see people talking about their expectations of it. You have that Duran Duran song, the psyops with the memes, David Hayter posting stuff, all that kind of stuff that I've already talked about before. What I want to do with this video though is put forth 10 reasonable expectations for Metal Gear Solid 5. I feel like everyone's gonna say, oh yeah, episode 51, add in an entire other part in Outer Heaven where Solid Snake comes and all this new stuff, like new assets, new campaigns, new cutscene, new voice work, all this kind of stuff. And while I feel like we could take the fact that David Hayter is going to be doing voice work for this game as a guarantee, I don't think it's safe or healthy to assume that, yeah, this is going to be all the things we expected Metal Gear Solid 5 to be during that weird-ass crazy Kojima hype cycle. So with this video, instead of going crazy with expectations, I want to bring up 10 things that I feel like it would be easy enough for Konami to implement into the game that would elevate it over what's out right now and warrant a repurchase of Metal Gear Solid 5. So I'm Pliskin, let's get right on into it.
Let the flood get off this ring. You know what he'd expect. What he'd want us to do.
So at number 10, the first thing I want to bring up is let's retouch a lot of these quiet scenes. Like, I'm totally fine with having an eye candy character, however, there's a lot of stuff going on with Quiet that's very weird and uncomfortable. Let's take this shower scene. I totally don't mind a Easter egg shower scene with Quiet, you know, something sexy, that's cool, sex appeal, yep, totally fine in my book, but there's like weird kind of gang rapey energy to it with the three dudes like catcalling her in the background. It's just very weird and off-putting. Couple that together with like the weird implied like attempted rape scene towards the end of her story, and all that really happens with Quiet is she tries to kill you, she's naked the majority of the time, and then there's just a lot of rapey scenes with her. Now, Kojima might be really into that kind of stuff. I feel like that might also just be a Japan thing, which is problematic as hell. But I'd like to think that most of us are a little bit uncomfortable when you push things that far, that weird. It was already kind of a gray zone when Kojima used those kind of ideas in Ground Zero in regards to torture, and one could argue that added to the brutality of the overall narrative. However, with Quiet, it just feels, I don't know, seedy, wrong. It's just deviant almost. So yeah, retouching with some of these Quiet scenes, you can keep the sexy tones and all that kind of stuff, but let's just take a step back from those weird, darker things that Kojima was very insistent with including. Coming in at number 9, we could use some voice line variety in the gameplay. Now when I bring this up, I am of course referring to just the dialogue that Snake has, or the noises he makes while, you know, playing the game. For example, I feel like a lot of us are kind of annoyed with the amount of times we can hear "Hiya!" while he's on the horse going throughout the world. Just a couple different noises, grunts, stuff like that while he's using his horse would go a long way. Maybe a couple more different lines of dialogue when you're interrogating guys. Because a lot of it can start to sound a little samey and a little annoying. Even stuff like Quiet humming every single time she's looking at someone, and the way that humming can be interrupted and she always has to like start the loop over again. Maybe have her hum different parts of her theme, and yeah, that kind of stuff. Just a little bit of variety in the smaller dialogue that happens during gameplay that we often take for granted. Number 8 is something that I have brought up in a lot of other videos in the past. And by the way, if you want to get my idea on bigger changes that should happen in Metal Gear Solid 5, I basically have 5 years worth of what if videos for Metal Gear Solid 5 throughout this channel. Now, I usually, when I subscribe to a new channel, go and look at their backlog, because that's just what I do. But judging on comments I've received, it seems like a lot of people have only just watched the stuff that I've just made and then whatever YouTube throws your way. But if you do a little bit of digging, there's a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5 content. But anyways, number 8 is having more findables in the world. Metal Gear Solid 5's open world can feel very empty, and a lot of the exploration you do, aside from the vibes and the environment, can feel kind of pointless, tedious almost. And it's not like you need to go full, GTA or Ubisoft with having just weird venial tasks to do in every corner of the map to keep the world entertaining. Just take a look at Wind Waker. The ocean that you can explore there is pretty empty, however the vibes going on, the weird little things that you can find if you go out of your way to look for them, keep it engaging. So for example, being able to find different camouflages around the world in enemy base camps or hidden up in rocks, or maybe you find the ruins of an ancient civilization. Like there's this one area at the start of the game where you have ruins there and a couple missions that take place here. Maybe if we visit this place in the open world, we can go ahead and pick up a camouflage. Have it function like the weapon blueprints and music tapes that are already in the game. Just switch it up a little bit and put this stuff in places that would not usually be obvious. So if you find something, it feels like it's really special, and then you get incentivized to go looking in these other corners of the map that would otherwise feel boring. But now that you know they might unearth a certain secret or unlockable, it's a more engaging experience just going through the open world. Number 7 is replace pseudo guns with real guns. Now, I've had it brought up that the pseudo guns are in the game because it works better with the, customization editor, but there's games like OG Warzone that show that you can have realistic types of models for guns and still do this whole customize it your own way. And since, a lot of games aren't really doing pseudo guns anymore for the most part, it would just be nice to play Metal Gear and have geeking out about the different guns and getting all these weird facts and, having the guns take a center point in a lot of the cutscenes, which is honestly one of the coolest parts of Metal Gear for me. Having that come back in Phantom Pain would help a lot in diminishing that disconnect between Phantom Pain and the rest of the series. Coming in at number 6, let's have some unmarked side quests in the open world. Now, I understand that with a lot of side ops, they get generated, you can look at them on your iDroid, and then you can prepare for them before you head out. So I'm not saying that every single side op should be a surprise, because sometimes it's nice to be able to prepare, go in, and then feel like you prepared well by having your different weapons and items serve you well in whatever it is you're trying to do. But there's certain side quests, for example, finding that bird that grants you the Arm of Jehudi. Having that just be something that you have to stumble across in the open world would make finding that bird and unlocking that arm so much cooler. And on that note, bringing this back to Mother Base, having things that you can just find on Mother Base that are unmarked would also be really cool. Like imagine if you can go around Mother Base and find all the different kooky dialogue cassette tapes. For example, the hamburgers of Miller and his whole dialogue with Code Talker about how Kaz basically invents McDonald's. Have those tapes scattered around so the different rooms and areas have some kind of incentive for you to go and explore. You could also tie this into a bunch of different Mother Base side quests. One of the best parts of the Phantom Pain is the Pause side quest. Stumbling into a surprise cutscene in a hidden area, having a whole side quest tied to that where you go into the open world, you bring something tangible back to your base, deliver it to a character and get rewarded with more dialogue and scenes is a really tried and true formula, and it's surprising that this doesn't happen more in Phantom Pain. Imagine if you could bring different music tapes to Quiet, because she's always there in her quarters listening to music. So bringing new music for her and having her react in different ways would be something really cool, and would go a long way to making Mother Base feel connected to the rest of the open worlds. Now number 5 is very important. I would like them to nerf the MD-2000 Trank Sniper. This gun makes the game a cakewalk. I don't care if you add more enemies with armor into the open world, or if you just make it harder to aim in third person, because honestly you don't even need to use the scope with this gun. You can just go through an entire base and point blank different dudes in the leg and you trank everyone. It makes the game way too easy. So it would go a long way for the balancing of Phantom Pain if this gun had another sort of drawback. And as a side note for the balancing, if you could make the Legendary Gunsmith something that you would have to unlock later down the road instead of so early on in the game, and make it feel like a special kind of endgame unlock that now gives you the power to go back and S-rank any mission you want, rather than just breaking the game halfway through, that would also help a lot with the balancing. Now, number 4 is probably gonna happen, but I'm still putting it on here anyways. If they could revitalize Metal Gear Online, maybe add some team-based PvE modes, or just have working servers and get people on this again so we can all enjoy MGO, because the little bit I have played of this is really good. And PvE is getting really popular now with a lot of online games. Take Helldivers for example. Some kind of holdout mode or group infiltration would be really cool. If I really wanted to go out there, I'd say please add split screen, which I know is probably not gonna happen, but like damn, it would add so much to the multiplayer longevity of Metal Gear Solid 5 if I didn't need online interaction in order to play the PvE or PvP modes. Now number 3 ties into a couple points we've brought up already, but bring all the MGO cosmetics into the main game. Not even cosmetics, there's certain usable items like the plushies and stuff that would be really cool to experiment with in the open world. But yeah, the crocodile hat, or being able to put a beret on Venom, or matching swimsuits for Venom and Quiet. And honestly, we could take this a step further and say put in stuff that was cut from the game. For example, the cut sheep hat that would allow you to herd sheep together and use them to distract guards, stop convoys, or just sneak through bases a lot easier, with the sheep being a natural form of camouflage as you move throughout the base. Honest to God, if that gets added in MGS5, I would pay like double the price of a full price game just to be able to do that. Because as soon as I saw the first trailer with extracting sheep, I was like, okay, there is so much that could be done here, so much interaction with the wildlife that would bring the world to life and give it a whole kind of extra layer of tactical gameplay. So yeah, adding stuff like the sheep hat and its functionality, as well as a lot of the cosmetics and tools from MGO, would be pretty cool, and would help warrant paying full price for a game that you could already get for, in some stores, close to $5. Now here at number 2, since the Duran Duran song Invisible is probably going to be in the game, since it's probably just a big psyop, the fact that this got so popular all of a sudden, it's probably going to be in the game. I'm sure we're probably going to get a trailer with Invisible as the theme song. And on this note, adding some more cool 80s music. If we have to go with the whole 1984 rule, I'd say add in some songs like Owner of a Lonely Heart, That's All by Genesis, or Joanna by Kool and the Gang. Like, there's a lot of cool music you could add into here, and having more cassette tapes to discover in the open world and on Mother Base, again, would bring the game to life and bring exploration into the forefront of something you could be doing here.
Something else. Look at these.
Nice shoes.
No.
This is probably going to be the most important thing for me with a re-release of Phantom Pain. Better integration with Ground Zeroes. Bring Camp Omega in as a playable map in the Phantom Pain. Have the actual canon Ground Zeroes mission be where you play as Big Boss, and then all the side ops in Ground Zeroes be something that you would have to go back to as Venom Snake. Add a lot of the different enemies and AIs. Bring in the different weapons we can use in Phantom Pain into Ground Zeroes. Keep the cool style of unlocks in Ground Zeroes, like for example Deja Vu. It would give you a reason to replay that very first tutorial mission. You know, finding all the different patches and then unlocking a Solid Snake skin and a Grey Fox skin that you can use in later missions as Venom Snake. Instead of having two different games having to be booted up, just have it be one full, complete package. And you know, if Ground Zeroes is implemented into Phantom Pain a lot better, we could probably touch up the opening in the hospital, changing it from a boring ass slow tutorial into more of an actual mission. Because if you already have the main Ground Zeroes mission there as the introduction to the game, there's your tutorial. Then the hospital could be just the first mission of Phantom Pain. A little bit of reworking would have to go into that, and that's why this is number 1, because there's a chance that it's not as likely because there's so much going on and so much that would need to be done in order to properly incorporate Camp Omega, Ground Zeroes, its side missions, its unlocks into Phantom Pain. It would be nice to finally sever that divide between Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you have anything that you feel would be a realistic expectation for a re-release of Metal Gear Solid 5? If you do, let me know down in the comments below. This has been Pliskin, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
This is Solid Snake. Hey, subscribe to Pliskin Boy. God damn it.
You heard him.